Hi everyone, I'm Jim Perkins and welcome to my shop. A couple of weeks ago I posted a short video of me doing some jimping on a blade that I had been working on for a fella out on the eastern side of the state. And I got a few questions about the file that I was using and the process that I go about as far as actually doing the jimping on the blade. So I thought I'd go over that real quickly today, just to take a couple of minutes here. There's a few things you're going to want to have before you go to put jimping on a blade. I always do mine after I have rough ground them. So the one I'll be using it as an example today, I've got a blade here that's been rough ground, has not been heat treated yet. You're not going to do this after heat treating. So make sure you try to do this before heat treating. You're going to want to have a file guide, preferably one with carbide inserts to protect the file guide itself. The reason you're going to use one of these is that way you get an accurate placement of the file on the blade when you go to set your jimping grooves. It keeps your file in a consistent placement and helps avoid any misplacement of the file, which would scratch the top of the blade of the spine. You want to avoid that if you can. So make sure you've got a good file guide. You can get them online. Any knife supply shop will have one. This one here happens to be a bend key. It's aluminum with a carbide insert. There's lots of them out there, but you're going to need one of those. Second thing you're going to need is a good checkering file. This particular one that I have here is a Glardon Velourb. It's a double aught, which means it has 20 lines per inch. This here happens to be a 6-inch file. You'll notice that it's not as aggressive as what you might think. The numbering system on these refers to the lines per inch. At least that's the way they've got it designated in there when you go to look one of them up to purchase. This file here will run you anywhere from about 40 to 50 bucks online, but they last a long time. I'm real particular about my files. I don't use junk files. And I'll pay the money for one of these. One of these days I'll do a video showing the other files that I used. But a good file is worth every nickel. Don't cheap out on your file. Another thing that you're going to need is a brass brush. And what you're going to use this for is for cleaning any chips that end up in your file, to clean those out. Moving chips along with the file as you're trying to put jimps on your knife is going to do nothing but gouge the blade, and that's going to piss you off, because then you're going to end up starting over. So what I'll do is I'll get this put into my setup here, my knife vise, and then I'll get it locked in, and then I'll do a couple of examples on how to go about setting this up. The most important part is getting started, and I say that because a lot of guys, when they start jimping, you're going to put that file up on here and you're going to try to take a cut across the entire length of the top of the blade. And all that's going to do is aggravate you. So you're going to want to pick one edge or the other to start on. I always start on the far edge with my file angled down, and I'll show that here in just a minute, as opposed to going up on the closest edge. It's just easier to get it started. And then as you get going and you start getting some cuts in there, you can lower your file down to where you start taking progressively deeper cuts across the full length of the blade, as opposed to trying to take a full cut across the whole length of the blade at the beginning. Make life easier for yourself, okay? Don't fight it. You want to go slow when you're doing something like this and not get in a hurry. So let me get this set up and I'll take a quick video of how I do that. Okay, so I've got this set up in my knife vise. I've got it clamped down in here. For the purpose of the video, I moved my knife vise over to the corner so I could secure it here. But I've got the knife secured in the vise. The knife file is here. And put yourself in a good position where you're halfway comfortable. Again, getting started correctly and slowly will help you set those grooves in the top of the spine and allow you to work yourself back. Remember, you can only cut the grooves as deep as the teeth on the file. So you're not going to cut these as deep as what you might think unless you're doing something with an individual file or a triangle file. A jimping file will only cut as deep as the teeth on the file. So watch that as you're going through here. So we're going to set the file on here. We're going to make sure it's up against the file guide, and then we're going to slowly take a cut. And you can see where it started, maybe you can see where it has started to take a cut. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do it again. You're not putting a lot of pressure down, you're just wanting to get the file started and get the cut started. Nice and slow. And pretty quickly, you'll see that you're able to start moving through there. Let me see if I can get a picture of that for you. So if you can see that, it's starting to get some small, tiny cuts on the edge right here. That's going to allow you to get the cuts started correctly and started evenly. Remember, you push down on the file one direction or the other, and you're going to have deep cuts on one side and narrow, shallow cuts on the other. So you want to try to put even pressure as you push this down. And you're not ramming it down in there. Let the file do the work for you, okay? Nice controlled cuts as you go down through here. And as you get started, then you can start lowering the angle down that you're making the cuts. And pretty quickly, you're going to be making cuts all the way across the top of the blade. And you can feel those teeth on the file begin to cut. Remember, let the file do the work for you. And already we start to see that the file is starting to do a pretty good job of taking those teeth right there. So let's go ahead and cut it for a couple more minutes, and we'll see how we end up here for you. If I can keep my damn camera going. There, okay. Remember, make sure you don't have any chips in there. A gouge will do nothing but aggravate you. Once you get used to doing this, guys, you'll find that this goes fairly quickly. Even though you're going slow, it will go quickly, simply because, well, for lack of a better phrase, you kind of get in a groove. Funny bastard, aren't I? Let the file do the work for you. It will do the work. All you have to do is guide it. Okay, let's take a look at that. Let's pull it out of here and take a quick look at it. So you can see it's already making a nice groove there. And one thing you'll want to do as you go about making your cuts, check both sides of the blade to make sure that the grooves are the same depth as you're making your cuts. And you can adjust the pressure that you're applying to the file as it's making the cuts as you go to correct any places where you're not making cuts as deep as you want them to be. So just check those as you go, and you'll end up with a nice jimping job on here when you're done. You'll be happy, the client will be happy, and you'll have a nice set of grooves on here. Just keep going like that, and you'll be successful. Makes a real nice addition to a field knife, a hunting knife. The guys that I've put these on knives for have really liked them. I've never had a complaint about doing this or about one that I've done for a client yet. Another option, if you find yourself with a blade that has a funky style to it or a curves where you can't get your file down nice and flat, you can go to a cutting wheel on a Dremel. What you have to be careful with there is making sure that your layout lines are precise and that your cuts on the steel are parallel to each other and that they are spaced evenly. It only takes a little bit working with a cutting tool and a Dremel to get those cuts unevenly spaced and not as deep, as equally deep across all the cuts. So when that happens, it just looks like crap. And the only way you can fix something like that, and the best way you can fix it, is to go in there with a file and try to even it up and clean it up as best you can. Do yourself a favor, if you're going to do jimping, get a jimping file, get a file guide, and you'll solve that problem. And you won't ever regret it. If you're going to do jimping, get a checking file. All right, guys, Jim Perkins coming to you from my shop. Have a great day. Bye.